Hi everyone, well I'm back again. As I said, I'm going to do ferns this time. As you can see on my board here, I've got some ferns laid out that I've made. I'm not going to show you them all, but I'm going to show you 3 of them. So what I've got on here is one that I've made piece by piece, and these are made with these cutters here at the top. The reason I've got the metal ones out is because when I bought the metal ones I couldn't get the large size, they didn't have it. Then next time I went they changed over to plastic ones, which you can get in the set now from Sugar City. They do a lot of different moulds and things like that, but they do these cutters as well, and they're the ones that I've used for that fern there. This one here is a gem mould you can get from Gem Cutters. You can buy these through PME or you can buy them from a sugar craft shop. Then here, these 2 ferns here, I've used the veiner and I've used the back of the veiner to cut them out. Well, that one I've used to cut out freehand and then put it into the veiner. This one here, I've used this all in one cutter. I've had this a hell of a long time. I don't know whether you can get hold of one of these, but if you see these about, they come in handy because you can do all sorts of different kinds of leaves because you've got 3 different sides. So you cut out one side, then turn over and cut out the other side. I'm not going to demonstrate with that because it'll take me too long to do all of them. So that one has gone into that mould there. And just get rid of those out of the way. Then the last one is the ribbon fern here, which I've already made all the parts for it, and I'll put that together later. There's 2 different sets. There's that set and then there's this set. These are from Tinkertech Cutters. That's another set. I haven't done that one, but I've done this one because this is quite a common one. You see this in growing in walls all over the place, but you can pay a lot of money in garden centres for a plant in a pot. So I'm going to show you how I did that, and I'm going to show you how I did this one here, and if I've got time I'm going to do the gem one as well. So I'm going to set my timer going there. Just move these out of the way, back with the other bits and pieces that I've got ready there, and we'll start off with this one. I'm only going to do a couple of leaves because I've got them already made up, and you know how to colour them. If you haven't watched one of my videos and haven't seen me colouring them, you can go onto my channel and there's loads of videos on there, and in all the others I've done all the colouring. It just saves time if I don't do it because this is just straightforward one colour. So what I'm going to do with these now, I'm going to put some white fat on my board, get some green paste out. Now for those that haven't watched me before, when I'm doing greens I only use one colour. I don't buy lots of different green paste, there's no point in it. I use this one, Christmas green from Sugar Flare, or you can get Holly and Ivy from Squire's Kitchen. They're both the same colour, but you don't need any other colours because all you do is, like here, I've got some that I use for the holly in the Christmas arrangement that I made in a dark green, and then all I've done is added some white to it to make a lighter colour to do the ferns. So, like I say, you don't need loads of different greens, and if you want to do something like an alpine colour, which is a more bluey green, just add a little bit of blue into your green to make it that colour. But the thing is, it's a lot cheaper to buy loads of dusts in different shades of green. Like I've got here, I've got 3 different shades of green here. I've got ginkgo, which I'm using today on the ferns. I've got rainforest, which I used on the holly, and then I've got I think that's racing green, is that one there. So you don't need lots of different greens to colour your paste. That's just your background, your first coat, if you like, from a painting point of view. Right, so I'm only going to roll a small piece of this paste out. If anybody's got any comments, leave them in the comments below and I'll get back to you. If you've got any suggestions of anything you'd like to see me do, again, do, and please subscribe to my channel. You get first notification of any new videos that I upload. And there's plenty more on my channel for you to have a look at. The first one I did with roses, a lot of people haven't watched that because there's 6 videos on there, but I've taken everything right from the very beginning right the way through to a big spray. That's why there's so much on there. So they're about just under half an hour a piece. I'm going to use the big cutter to show you how I did the ferns. So if I cut out, so you can see what I'm doing there. And what I did was, with the top part of the fern, I cut out 3 of the small ones, and then what I did was cut a little bit off. So you want 3 different stages, like I've got here, all the different sizes here, so that you can put your fern together. You'll see when I put it together what I mean. So what I've done is I've cut out the ferns, and that one I've missed a little bit there. If you can get it, make sure you get a good cut all over, that's better. So you can pull your paste away, especially with these smaller, more delicate cutters. Just keep your finger on it just so it doesn't do what that just did there. First mistake, as I keep saying to people, a lot of people my students get worried about it when they make mistakes and that. And you're not learning anything if you don't make mistakes, so don't worry about it. So with these, all I did with these, and I used a 30 gauge wire for these, because you only need a very thin wire, which is that thickness there, which is very thin. And what I did for each of the steps, so you get all your different sizes, just take a bit off the bottom of each of the ferns, accentuating. So you start off with a full one, then you take about 3 pieces of the bottom off for the next one, then 2 pieces off for the next one, and so on, and carry on down through all your sizes there. So basically what I did was, with the shortest one in the big ones, I took off 3 pieces, so I cut that off there like that, and then the next one down I cut off 2 like that. So you get your 2 different sizes there of your leaves in the different stages. So that just gives you an idea of how I've done that. And then obviously then you need to put those onto your wire. Just need to be very careful with these because they're so fine. Put your wire. If I've gone off camera, by the way, when I'm doing anything, I apologise. I keep saying this every time I do a video because I don't have a camera operator, so I have to do it all myself. And I can't watch what I'm doing here and watch my screen up there at the same time. So once you've done that, then you need to go on to your pad. Just had to take a flower off. I'm experimenting for the next video there. And thin your edges. Now you can either just pull the pieces out like that, or you can go down it, but if you pull them out, particularly with ferns and that, it keeps everything more or less in the shape you want it to be, like that. Then that's all you need to do with it, and then turn it round, and then with your Dresden tool, which is this one here, this is what we used to use to put veins in before we had rubber veiners and that, and then just do a line down the centre of your fern. Just be careful how you do it. Like that, right the middle, down the middle, like that. Then you can shape it up a bit then if you want, and then onto your foam to dry. So then when it's dry you'll end up with your pieces like that with your line down the middle. I've already dusted these, so just get that out of the way. Now the one I wanted to spend a bit more time on was the all-in-one fern, which is this one from Gem. Now there's a slightly different way of doing this. Because of the way it's made, it's a lot easier to do this one without putting your wire through your paste like you do with some of the others. So it's a slightly different method, like I've done with the ribbon ferns and things like that. So what I'm going to do with this is, you start off by rolling your paste out. Make sure you get a big enough piece rolled out to take your cutter. So when you're rolling it out, if you just check with your cutter on it to make sure that it fits in it, see, that's fine. I'm not going to go too thin with this, because if you do, you'll find it breaks a lot more easily because you haven't got any support in each of the side pieces like you have on the other fern. Make sure you've got a good cut there, then take away your excess. Now you might have to play around with this one because that's just stuck a bit there, so if you just get your Dresden tool or something with a sharp edge. What have we done with it? Got it there somewhere. I'm doing my usual thing of losing. I've got a metal one here anyway, that'll do. So just pull that back up there like that. Just something with a sharp edge, just go in between those cuts in there and just pull it out like that, and just do a little bit at a time. Some of the plastic cutters are not as sharp as the metal ones, and with this one you can't get a metal one in this because it's too complicated. I dare say if I asked my supplier that makes the metal cutters for me to make one of these, she'd probably bite my head off, because I know some complicated shapes she doesn't like doing. They take too long, you see, and I mean, like most things in sugarcraft, time is money. And for anybody that hasn't done cake decorating or thinking about doing it, remember this: the longer it takes you to do it, the more you have to charge for it, because it's like anybody working anywhere. Everybody should be working on an hourly rate, and anything that's going to take you a long time, obviously you're going to have to charge more for, because it's taking you longer to do it. I mean, nowadays it's bad enough that people don't have all fruit cakes anymore like they did when I first started. They have anything but fruit cakes, and that gives us less time to work on it, so that makes things more complicated then. So you have to make sure that things like this are done well in advance. As long as you know what you've got to do and when you've got to do it for, you can have all your bits and pieces ready to do when you need, ready for when you need them. There we are, that should come away now. Right, now the next step for this is you need a stronger wire than you would do with some of the other bits and pieces. We've got some little bits in there that want to come out. So I might have to do this putting things together in a separate video. The last ones have been a bit shorter because I haven't had as much to do. But when we start doing complicated things, it takes longer to do, and my camera here will only record for 30 minutes at a time. So sometimes I have to go off and come back again. Right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to use a thicker wire. I've got a 20 gauge wire here somewhere. No, I haven't. Get one out of my box. I need it a bit longer than I would normally. Did I put it? Yeah. No, I'll do use a 22 gauge wire. Wherever they are there. Not quite as thick as the 20 gauge wire. For anybody who doesn't understand the sizing on wires, I'm going to use half a wire for this, because you need it to go all the way up your fern. And because this is a darker green, what I'm going to do before I start is I'm going to cover the whole of the wire. So start here, tape off at the top like that, and then stretch with your one hand and roll with the other like that, and go all the way down. That's so that the colour fits in with the colour of the green that I've used on my fern. Now the advantage of doing your fern this way is that you could either have a straight fern like I've got there, or you could have one that's curved back, so if you're doing a full fern, which I once did for a competition, the fern opens out so you can bend your wires back easily if you do it this way. Right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get my glue and I'm going to run it up the wire like that. And I'm going to go down all the way around the wire, which will become obvious in a second why I've done that. Then lay that up the centre of your fern like that, press in. So a lot of people buy things like this and they don't know how to use them, because I didn't. It took me a while to get used to doing it. So just looking for my palette now. There it is. I just want to make sure that that's loose off the board before I turn it over. And very quickly, oops, I'm gonna, this is where you have to be careful, because I need to get this turned over, so I've got it the wrong way around. Oops, and I've dropped it on the floor. Oh. There we are. Give me a clap. Turn it over like that. Make sure your wire's still up the centre like that. And then what you need is you need a pair of tweezers. I've got some straight ones here. And what I'm going to do is, if you get onto where your wire is and just pinch it in like that, all the way down the wire, down the back. And then you should find that your fern is attached to your wire then. So then what you need to do with that then is put that onto your foam, which I'm going to do, which is off camera, off the side here. Those that have watched me before will have seen the foam when I've had it on here. And just adjust it in place. There we are. And leave that to dry. And then when it's dry, then you'll have your fern already dry. Right, so the next thing you need to do with that then is we get on to the colouring part and assembly. Let's have a look to see how much time I've got. 11 minutes left on there. So what I'm going to do the colouring on this one that I've done here, and then I'll switch the camera off and come back for the assembly of the complicated fern that I've done there. So as I said, the colour that I'm using for my green is the ginkgo, which is that one, which is a nice sort of mid-green. I use it quite a lot for anything that's not too dark and not too light. And then all you do is just very carefully dust all over. These brushes are quite expensive. These are one of the more expensive pieces of equipment. But if you look after them, like this one here, this is the first brush I ever bought when I started. Oops, and I've just knocked some pieces off. Never mind, it's only for demonstration purposes. I'm not using it for anything. Very carefully all over. This is why you need to be careful. You need a brush that's soft enough firm enough to hold the powder, but soft enough not to damage your ferns. But as I say, with this type of fern, and because I've done it curved like that, I should have put it on something actually while I did it. And then when you've done that, just turn it over and then just go over the back with a light bit of powder, just to give it, broken it all together. There we are. That shows how difficult they are, which might put you off using that. But anyway, and then I've dusted all the other pieces all ready and waiting to put together. And so I'm going to switch the camera off now, and then I'm going to come back with the second video, which will take me quite a long time to assemble that other fern. So I'll come back and do that. Okay, see you in a mo.